Upcycle squad! Let's give your ironing board a makeover today. Surprisingly enough, it's fairly common that ironing boards get pretty gross. This is what mine looks like now. Pretty in pink, tight fit. I will show you the before. It was pretty musty. This is how we were looking before the cover. Pretty grotesque, but hella simple to make a cover. What you will need for this project is an ironing board, of course, something to trace. I'm gonna use tailor's chalk. You could just use a pencil or a marker. And then 100% cotton fabric or something that is natural fibers because you want it to be able to take that heat. You will also need some sort of drawstring, or you can even use elastic cording. I got these both from the thrift store. First thing we are going to do is lay out our fabric. If it is super wrinkled, I would probably give it a little press, and then you're going to take your ironing board and put it face down on the fabric. I'll show you how it looks. All right, this is how it should look. Ironing board face down, and I left about 2 inches or 5 centimeters of space because we're not going to trace right up to the ironing board. We're actually gonna leave 2 inches or 5 centimeters of space. So like I said, we are going to leave some space so the fabric can nicely wrap over that edge and look stupid clean. So I'm not actually going to trace around the entire ironing board. I'm going to do half, and then we'll fold that over and we'll have a perfectly symmetrical piece. First thing I'm going to do is mark the halfway point of this curve on the top. Just put a little mark. So I marked that halfway point of the top curve. Now I'm going to do the same for the back. So I extended those marks a fair amount. And now all I'm going to do is start at one of my marks, trace around, and finish at my second mark. So starting at this mark or that mark, and we're going to trace with 2 inches of space around half of the ironing board. So 2 inches or 5 centimeters. You can grab a ruler and be super exact with it. I can eye 2 inches pretty well, so I'm just going to eye it and go all the way into my other mark. So once you have that first half traced out, we're actually going to cut just that first half, and then we'll fold it over to get that symmetry. I'm just cutting straight down from this top mark and then following that line. Once you cut around, starting from those initial marks you made, you can remove the ironing board. Now all I'm going to do is fold this piece we just cut on those marks. So the one at the top, one at the bottom, just folding it over. Just folding it over at that halfway point we made at the bottom and on the top. Now you can trace around to get that same shape on the other side. I'm just going to use this as my template and cut along that edge, and that will give you your full ironing board piece. Boom! So now you should have one large piece, very symmetrical. We are going to cut out one more piece that will be a channel around the entire edge so you can nicely cinch it onto the ironing board. So all I'm going to do is measure from that bottom point around the edge to that point, and I'll double that measurement to get the entire perimeter. So my entire perimeter is 140 inches. So all I did was measure from there to there, which was 70 inches, and then I doubled that to get the full perimeter. So the channel piece is very simple. It is just a rectangle. Here's a little sketch I did. So it is that ironing board perimeter, and then we're actually going to add 2 inches just in case, because sometimes when you're sewing, things get a little shifty. So adding a 2 inches or 5 centimeters for safety, and then it will be 2 inches or 5 centimeters wide. It is just a rectangle. And the channel piece makes it so we can just put a drawstring through and cinch that ironing board. So my piece is going to be 142 inches by 2 inches. But since I don't think this fabric is going to be long enough, I'm just going to cut 2 pieces at half of that measurement, so 71, and then I will connect them. Here are my 2 pieces for the channel. Now all I'm going to do is just sew them together at the top to make one long piece. All right, so once your channel is in one long piece, or if it already was in one long piece, we're now going to bring it to the ironing board and fold it hot dog style and press along the entire thing. Once your channel piece is pressed hot dog style, we can begin sewing to the main panel. Now, before I attach it to the main panel, first thing I'm going to do is take one of the ends of the channel piece, fold that over at about 1/4 inch, and just stitch that down to finish that edge. Once you finish one of the ends of the channel piece, we are going to now connect it to the main piece. So we are looking at the good side of my main panel, and all I'm going to do is start at the bottom here where we made that halfway point on the curve, and I'm going to put my channel piece up to the edge, lining up those raw edges, and I'm just going to sew it along the entire edge. So we're just starting at the bottom here at that midway point with that channel piece that we finished, putting that right up to the midway point, and I'm lining up my raw edges and then sewing around the entire perimeter. So I'm gonna start here, sew at 1/4 inch, and feel free to pin this on. I'm not going to pin it, I'm just going to go slow and line up my edges. So we're starting here, sewing all the way around at 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to stop about 1 inch before this marking point that we made, because we're probably gonna have to trim off a little bit and then also finish the other side. So you can pin this, but honestly, I think it's easier to just make sure you're lining up those edges and sew around all the way about 1 inch before the end. And that will give us a nice little channel to put a drawstring so we can cinch it nice and tight around the ironing board. So after you have sewn that channel piece around the entire perimeter, you should have some excess here. All I'm going to do is line it up to that piece we already finished, then go about 1/2 inch over and snip. So I snipped off that excess, and we have about 1/2 inch of overlap. Now all I'm going to do is open this up and fold this edge over to get a nice little finish, just like we did to the other side. Now that the other side of the channel is finished, we can finish stitching. So I'm just gonna stitch the rest and then back stitch where I started. All right, so once you finish that bottom little portion, you can see you have your 2 entry points for your drawstring. Boom, shakalaka, you can be done now. The 2 next steps are optional, but recommended for the longevity of the ironing board cover. All I'm going to do is serge this entire edge, or you can zigzag it, and then I'm also going to top stitch just on the edge all the way around, because I am going to probably end up putting this in the washing machine, and if you serge and top stitch it, it'll be way more durable. Yes, chillers, we're pretty much done. All we have to do now is thread that drawstring through our channel, and then we can put it on our ironing board. So grab your drawstring and then a safety pin. I'm actually going to be using this elastic cording. So put your safety pin through the top of your drawstring or elastic cording, and now we are going to just thread it through our channel. So starting at our little opening point, and we're just going to insert and shimmy, shimmy until we make it to the other side. Boom. So once you threaded your drawstring through, you are done, and you can put it on your ironing board. So obviously the more pointy part of the fabric will go towards the pointy part of the ironing board. You can take a little bit of adjusting, just make sure to get it nice and snug, and then tie your drawstring super tight. I have this nice little cord stop, but if you used a drawstring, just pull it super tight so it fits around those curved edges nicely. And you shall now have a super fresh and clean ironing board. I hope you enjoyed this project. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. And have a wicked awesome day. Fast fashion ain't got nothing on us. We're gonna show it who the is boss.